The money supply continues to grow at a scorching rate. Tax breaks for the super rich, no-bid contracts for campaign contributors, massive debt and deficit, massive unemployment, the middle class are getting poorer, and the rich are making bank, trashing our dollar. With the government handing out $6 trillion in free money in the past handful of months, the US dollar weakness will continue for many years. The dollar is down 10% in 2020 and also down a bit today. Maybe it is going up compared to Venezuela and Zimbabwe. This is the result of ramping up the printing press. All one needs to see is the growth of M2 in March and the following months. The Fed is applying a loose monetary policy to keep the economy moving, and that money funnels into the market. The criminal manipulation of the first legalized Ponzi scheme in world history continues unchecked. We're going to crush the dollar and let the rest of the world figure it out. The era of the US dollar's exorbitant privilege as the world's primary reserve currency is coming to an end. A crash in the dollar is looming. This is an agreed strategy to get out of the corporate debt hellhole, like in 2009 due to the fact that the Fed is the only central bank with the overnight window that lends with very little collateral to other large private, sovereign or public banks do not matter. The ECB will act if they see that Congress fails to raise taxes to cover the debt, and they will start the same race to the bottom. The law of unintended consequences. See Japanese society today and 30 years ago. So that is what you have at a global scale, a Japanization of finance, a race to the bottom of cost of money to induce risk as if the risk is the only way out of a moronic approach to deal with a pandemic. Welcome back to the Atlantis report. You are here for your daily dose of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please take a second to click the like button. And don't forget to smash the bell button in order to get a notification whenever a new video is uploaded. Thank you. Riots, looting, lockdown, pandemic, disputed election, and the Russell 2000 index is now straight up and at almost 100% higher than it was at the March 2020 lows. Let that sink in for a moment, just before you pay your mortgage and monthly bills. Welcome to a fiat money environment whereby the one who prints selects the winner. In our world, it does not matter how hard or smart you work, the winner is always selected by the one who prints the money. If you are educated or a hard worker or not, the one who always wins is the banker and the politician. If you get worked up about the failure of the moneyed system, people are too stupid to understand. While this record inflationary binge by the Fed has not manifested in significant price inflation as measured by CPI yet, it has shown up in asset prices, particularly equities. There is no other reason to see record stock market valuations in the midst of a massive economic contraction. The random element is the Fed pumping in trillions at the slightest blip. In 2021, immediately expect stimulus, green deals, debt forgiveness, Medicare for all, etc., etc., etc. And all that will be pumped out of the printing presses. The stock market won't miss a beat until the bond market finally says no, then the US dollar and the whole ball of wax will collapse overnight, along with the rest of the world. With the whole world then in financial collapse. I would expect a nice big global war will follow. Seriously, the thought that most of us could be alive to witness this is not a pleasant thought. The Fed believes it is the empire alongside the oligarchs. And it has been sacrificing the US for some time at the behest of the oligarchs. Why else does it buy billions in corporate debt? The Fed is sacrificing the dollar. They are also sacrificing the people who receive their paycheck in dollars, which is already the status quo. The dollars swishing around are primarily a function of the excess liquidity, pumped in to make up for the lack of velocity. America and the whole of the economic system are poised, waiting for the inevitable crash. Hopefully, it will be more of a whimper than a bang. While corporations have tax shelters, offshore accounts, heck they even write workmen's compensation laws. Pay little to nothing in taxes have all politicians in their back pocket. Nothing is going to change that. As long as you need a job, corporations can do whatever they want. Estimates are showing that some 40 million Americans will soon face the prospect of eviction. As many as 40 million Americans could face eviction when the federal moratorium expires this December. That's millions of people without a roof over their head in the middle of winter. Many more will face foreclosure or be forced to backpay thousands of dollars in rent that they simply can't afford during a pandemic and economic crisis. Markets just keep going up. Vaccine, no vaccine. Jobs, no jobs. Doesn't matter. Money from helicopters coming in just a few more months. Yellen is going to make it rain. The problem here is that marginal pricing gives an illusion of higher overall values. There is relatively low volume, so the price at any given day only is a reflection of the buyers and sellers from that day. This fraud knows no bounds. Stocks would go up even if a nuke landed directly on Manhattan. Why? Because bad news is always good news. It's just a way to recognize how insanely overbought this market is overall so as to be ready when the bubble bursts. I really expected the downturn in February to March to be the pin that would pop the everything bubble, but of course, the Fed swooped in and dumped insane sums of cash to keep the markets from seizing up. The Fed is the ultimate X factor here. So long as investors believe the Fed will protect them from ever facing the consequences of their actions, the market will continue to climb. But heaven helps us when confidence in the Fed collapses, because so too will the market. The Fed is jawboning to depress yields. That means that their strategy doesn't work the moment people worry they've lost control of rates. The 10-year rate going above 1 will be a start. When the crisis finally hits, many people will be caught totally off guard. I'm not saying the market is going to crash tomorrow or something, but it's pretty clear that these levels are unsustainable in the long term. Either we are going to trade sideways the next few years, or we're going to see a massive pullback worse than March in the coming months or years. It really just depends on what the Fed does, but the longer they pump, the worse the inevitable pullback will be. What happens when no foreigners want our dollars? This is hyperinflation. A weakening of the dollar is simply a tax without taxing. It works well in mitigating government debt. And since the Fed is the cause of this taxation, that means we have taxation without representation. What central banks are doing is just flat out criminal. Some say the US is addicted to oil, some say that the US is addicted to debt, some say that the US is addicted to wealth. But one thing that the US has really become addicted to is free Fed's money. The US, in addition to being the world's #1 economy, reserve currency, the hub of financials, source of virtually all product, service creativity. We are also, unfortunately, the #1 debtor nation, holder of the world's worst wealth gap title. There is literally no mathematical way for central banks' Ponzi paper program to avoid overprinting. Human nature is forcing so-called governments to provide a free lunch. It is ending badly. Climate disaster will finish it off. The dying accelerates from here, the pandemic ramp, overheating humans, starving masses, climate refugees, etc. The smart money is already exiting the cities, commercial real estate meltdown underway, Fed trapped in its maze at a dead end, unable to unwind ever. One of the unintended consequences of our huge deficit is a decline in our currency. See oil price going up because of a weak dollar. Investors could make a fortune off of equities and commodities priced in US dollars if the dollar drops. Demand would skyrocket. But Main Street Joe sure would get the shaft. Joe's pricing on the stuff not made in America would go up, but the stuff we make for others will go down and drive jobs for goods and services. It hurts the Wall Street Joes far more when the dollar goes down because they make money with money. And most of the stuff Main Street Joe buys is foreign. Cars, clothes, meds, electronics, phones, shoes, and a rising percentage of food is imported. Joe will suffer as the dollar drops. A real bear market will happen. It will be an unexpected, exogenous event that triggers the selling. It always appears easiest at the top. At the bottom, retail investors will not be wanting to buy stocks. The dollar days as the global currency are declining. It has been used improperly as an arm of US foreign policy far too many times, which is one of the problems. What are we going to do when the trillions of dollars used in world trade since WW2 begin to be repatriated, added to the US debt held by foreign countries, and there is trouble ahead? So goes the US dollar, so goes the US. Given that turning the US into a third world country is the end goal, well, goodbye US dollar. The elites don't care about the dollar. They want a digital cashless society and a global currency. They'll kill the dollar as soon as they think they're ready to bring in their Great Reset. The dollar doesn't mean anything to them once it's absorbed by a one-world banking system brought about by the Great Reset. Never has financial or social engineering ever helped anyone but the elites. It is always packaged and sold as benefiting the downtrodden masses, but the only thing the masses get is the bill. The whole point of fiat paper is to allow the ruling class to steal its original par value to the silver of gold by issuing debt. The Constitution codified silver as the money of the realm. The value of silver has not gone up, the fiat dollar has gone down. We, the people, allowed fiat to replace silver for money. The Fed is just doing his job to represent the ruling class theft. It's really just that simple. Rich people will not be affected by the theft. In fact, they have done well. Did you hear Janet Yellen blathering about ensuring our dreams and potential as Treasury Secretary? This was insulting to one's intelligence, considering that she represented the other side of that trade as Fed head. Today you should better hedge your dollar assets even harder than before because it loses value. This was the Atlantis report. Please like, share, leave me a comment, subscribe. And please take some time to subscribe to my backup channels. I do upload videos there too. You'll find the links in the description box. You will also find a PayPal link if you want to make a donation. Thank you wholeheartedly to all those of you who have donated. Stay safe and healthy, friends.